Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 71 of the Landy Lodge. I am joined by my good friend Alex Pamal from All Nerds Welcome. But before we beat into your eardrums, we have some people we need to thank, those people being the Sages of the Lodge. So very quickly, thank you David Freeze, Shane Thomas Driscoll, Chris Perkowski, Scott Castellano, Maria Palmieri, Julie Rossman, Nick Taborski, Charlotte Astry, Kevin McBride, Michael Fay, Richard Arnold, Dan Muller, Andrew Clay, Roger Kemp, the fam, and then you yourself, Alex Pamal. Also,
what about your mom?
That's what I meant by the fam, because I had
okay.
my dad was like, "Hey, what about me?" And then everybody
Yeah,
was
I was
like,
gonna
"Hey,
say.
what about me?" So it's like, "All right, we're just gonna throw the whole family into this pot here." But you know what? Thank you for looking out for my mom. I do appreciate that.
Gotcha.
Sign of a good friend right there. Anyway, thank you for your part in supporting the lodge and getting us through phase 1. We're here in phase 2, and I think it's very fitting to have you in here. We have a lot to talk about.
So video games. I wonder what I'm going to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean,
for the audio listeners.
Are there any context clues like in your appearance?
All right, if you don't, I guess for your audio listeners, I have E3 2019 back in the Stone Age, like 100 years ago when they had E3s, with Phil Spencer behind me. I think he was probably going to announce Cyberpunk. I'm just trying to fill people with some nostalgia, some positive things.
Oh, the good old days when we could
remember
go to
Keanu
things.
popping out.
Yeah.
Your breathtaking. You know, it was just like a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, even though it feels, like 30 fucking years ago.
Well, we've all, I'm sure with 2020, we've all aged a lot since 2019.
Yeah.
But
it's rough.
We've had a lot go down in the last few weeks with Microsoft, especially. Now, we're going to talk about next gens in general, especially later in the podcast. We'll get into PS5. But I wanted to zero in on Halo Infinite right now because that's where most of the attention seems to be. And, as par for the course with video games these days, we got some controversy. So what's your take on everything that's going on?
Number one, they lied. Number two,
they lied.
Deception from Microsoft.
Lies and deception. Hot take.
I see lies and deception, and I'm like, guys, relax. If anything, it was a bit of a misdirection, like sleight of hand. Okay, people got mad. Let's face it, Halo Infinite didn't look 100% like what next gen is supposed to look like, as if there's a strict definition. Drove me nuts when I saw this online. This game looked a lot like Halo 1. And not just because the day before they dropped a photo where it was basically Combat Evolved, but a high-resolution picture, which ended up being what this game looked like. People, I don't want to say the word understandably got mad because it's a video game.
And that's a slippery slope, my friend.
We don't have to get mad about everything. I want to be clear. I don't know about your stance, but my stance with my channel, All Nerds Welcome, is that you don't have to be mad about everything. That you just don't have to. There's other options like indifference. just be indifferent. Keep scrolling. If you see something you don't like, just keep scrolling.
Patience too.
Nobody's got patience anymore. It's just 2020, man. And freaking COVID's taking everything away from us. Especially first thing that went away was patience. So I guess understandably the game did not look like freaking aliens, like you were looking like you were in space right there next to Master Chief. It didn't look like that. I guess that's what people were expecting. And I mean, I can understand. There's some screen caps that people have out that they showed, like the Brutes, which I'm happy the Brutes are back. If you're not familiar with the lore, I think they died in Halo Wars or something, or some point. I'll say one thing. I was reminiscing about Halo. I don't remember dick about the story, but I played all of them, including the new ones. I'll have a few thoughts of how it should have been made and what I think they should have focused on for Halo. But this game didn't look 100% like every other game that's coming out now, and for some reason that's bad nowadays. And people are mad. I don't see any death threats. I usually monitor when it comes to death threats because that's the nerd's number one weapon. Death and rape threats every time you don't get what you want. There hasn't really been any reports of that yet. I'm sure there will be. But, I mean, I don't see it. People were mad about 4 and 5 because it felt so much different than the original 3. People got mad about it. And I understood. I played them. Mechanically, I can play 4 and 5 way more than I can play 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna be
Is
honest
that
with
just
you.
because of updated controls, or is there some difference in the
100%.
gameplay? Because I'm gonna
A
just for some
thousand.
context, so you know who you're talking to. I tapped
Mhm.
out after Halo 3. When it comes to
Yeah, no,
Halo,
yeah.
tapped out after 3.
4 and 5 was like Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda, yeah, the story was gobbledygook. It wasn't that great, but the mechanics and the guts of the game were actually fun to play. But if you go back to Mass Effect 1, I guarantee, unless you have to like meaningfully set out to play, you know, the first game in a series in order to fully enjoy it. And that's how I feel about Halo. Halo 1, 2, and 3. I respect the history because I know a lot of people are getting mad for me saying this, but I respect the history and where it belongs, but it hasn't aged well. I mean, you can't even zoom in with iron sights in that game. Everything you fire is from the hip. There's only 2 weapons that you can shoot long range with, and one of them is a fucking pistol. It's just not it's not up to snuff. But people wanted more of that kind of gameplay, that kind of look, and that kind of feel. And genuinely, that's what this game does feel like. It does feel it feels like Halo 1 with some updated, some like
With a hook shot,
necessary like
baby,
upgrades.
grapple hooks change
Yeah.
everything.
I mean, not for nothing, like Doom almost felt more like a Halo game than Halo 4 and 5. Doom felt like when it's just I remember hearing Breaking Benjamin blow me away and going into that room and fucking all these dudes up and just having a blast. You know, I get that because from Halo 1, 2, and 3, what I feel like the biggest thing that they stepped away from was they started favoring cutscenes for everything, as opposed to Halo 1, 2, and 3, where I mean the final mission in Halo 3. I don't know if you remember it. You and the Arbiter are like driving a warthog off like a giant mountain thing while the freaking and you're just driving through. There's no cutscene, only for the ending, but you're literally driving through as the last mission of the game, trying to survive while platforms, the Flood, the Covenant, the Sentinels, like everybody's just coming at you, and you're just driving through. The only indication that you have is a tiny little arrow on your mini map telling you just, I guess you got to go this way. That's the most it's given you. And I didn't feel that thrill for 4 and 5. I'll give them that. I'll give them that 4 and 5 didn't give me that same thrill. But I don't know, man. Halo 1, 2, and 3. I have the Master Chief Collection on Game Pass. And I cannot finish it again. I'm not having fun with it. Apart from killing grunts, it's just really not that much fun.
I hear you. I peeked a little bit into it. I watched the trailer myself, and it brought me back. It reminds me of when I was maybe like 13, 14 playing Halo for the PC in my bedroom. It very much reminded me of that. I feel like that's what they were going for. The graphics didn't look awful. Some textures looked bad. Like if you look at some of the
some
textures,
zoom in shots.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this is a game that isn't released yet, and textures
Not only
are the
that,
last thing that gets worked on.
Yeah.
At least that's the knowledge I've been told, is that textures are usually the last pillar that's worked on in game development.
Yeah, video game designers live on their entire development cycle is like Point Break. It's just they're going until the end. Like I don't know how they do it. But the other thing a lot of people are, if they're not already aware of, that was an early build.
It's from 4 months ago, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. And a lot of people, because I think here's what I said about Microsoft's like misdirection. I think that had they come out and said, listen, I don't know if you guys noticed, but COVID hit us pretty fucking hard. We're all working from home. Here's an early build from 4 months ago. This is not representative of the final product, as no trailer is representative of the final product, because as I've learned from so many different outlets and interviews with developers, that day one patch that almost every game gets, that's the pretty much final product. They're fixing glitches up until the release date.
Well, yeah, because the game goes gold, right? Where they send it out, where they start to prepare to send it out for shipping.
They say it goes gold, but I think it's a minimum amount of glitches. Yeah, and then it ships out because there's a decent amount. I mean, as long as the game is playable. Because I mean, Spider-Man went gold months before release, and there were still some glitches with Spider-Man on PS4. Mm-hmm. It was hard to find them, but you still had glitches. I think what was the game that just went gold? Might have been Tsushima.
I mean, Tsushima's out.
Yeah, so. I think I heard a little while back it went gold, but I don't know. Yeah, when a game goes gold, I kind of have half faith. Mm-hmm. Because at the same time, the dev cycle for these games, I don't understand how they do it. I genuinely, this is why I feel bad when they get death threats. these people work on a game up until the day it releases. You look at like Hollywood with the movies, they'll like every Avengers movie is finished almost a year before it releases just to give you time to like mess with it. These guys just spitting out games because these developers and these publishers, it's crazy. I genuinely wish that I'm not for nothing. That's kind of why CD Projekt Red is able to get away with their the reason they're kind of able to get away with what they get away with a lot of times just because of where they are. They're in Poland. I think it's a very socialist. They're like their money comes from like the government. They're not privately funded, so they don't have a lot of like. It's weird. I'm not trying to get political or anything, but it's just this weird. I was listening to some about it, and they were saying like they don't have investors they have to answer to. They don't have these deadlines, and they don't. E3 is like E3. It's not for us. It's for investors. Different events like GDC is not for us. It's for people to sell games. Sometimes you get some cool trailers out of it, but that's just to build hype. And based on that hype is when these people throw down money. So it's like, but in like a European nation where they are very socialist, they don't have to worry about that shit. And that's why Cyberpunk got delayed like 15,000 times.
As it should, by the way, as it should. With all this going on, like as you said, Microsoft probably should have came out and just said, "Hey, listen, everything that's going on with what's going on out there has delayed our progress."
Yeah.
Everybody should be delaying their games. Like
100%.
Whatever the deadline was before everything went down should not be considered anymore. Because, at the end of the day, I can wait a few extra months if what you're going to give me is substantially better than what I would get.
Especially if it's not about crunch or anything. It's just literally over something they had no control over. It's not mismanaged funds. It's not, people building shit and taking money away from them. It's just,
dude, even if it was, don't release a half-ass product. I'd rather you delay it. I mean, look, maybe I'm desensitized because I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan, and they can't release a mainline game without delaying it for 2 years. So again, maybe I'm desensitized to this whole idea. But I don't think anyone should be in any rush to release anything. I think that's why nothing's really been given a release date. I don't know if you've noticed, very few of the games.
A lot of March 21st. Oh no, sorry. Spring, fall,
spring, summer 2021.
Blood Moon. They're just like these vague ass dates. It's just like, if it was me, I'd just be like, it's coming out. When's it coming out? It's coming out.
It'll be out when it's ready is the best way of putting it.
I think a lot of these companies should just do like what Square Enix was doing. Square Enix has been putting out sales like crazy. On PC, on Steam, they had it was like $60 for like $200 worth of games, all like main.
I think I saw that.
Like a new release because they had like Dragon Quest 12 or 13 on it, or I think 12.
No, I think didn't they just put 11S?
Definitive.
11S definitive version.
Yeah, I think it was that one. One of those. There's so many. I'm playing through one of them. Couldn't tell you which one it is, but it's like, put out sales. I started messing around with Humble Bundle. You need your fill, man. But like, if you need your fill for gaming, not that obviously, this would be a great segue if you were sponsored by this, but Xbox Game Pass.
All right, go ahead. Give your plug.
That is the fucking future of gaming. Not no fucking consoles. Dude, let's be honest. I was doing some math before when I was in the bathroom, and I was looking and I was thinking to myself, like, how much would they make if they sold? How much do you think the consoles are going to be? Xbox or Series? How much do you think it's going to be?
Approximately, right? Could be 100 under, could be 100 over, but approximately $500. That's what I would think.
Great. If they sold like 5 million consoles, that'd be $3 billion. So obviously, $3 billion is great for Microsoft. That's like, I don't know, whatever Bill Gates made today. But now they want to focus on getting these subscriptions out. I really think they could have just not put out the Xbox Series X this year and just focus on the Game Pass, because in September, they're going to be integrating xCloud. Now, I remember I was messaging you the other day about xCloud. I was able to get into the beta on my phone, and I probably should have brought my controller here to show it a little bit better. But xCloud is basically what Stadia should have been. Stadia, RIP.
I'm going to ask you, because Stadia completely flopped.
Yeah, I bought it.
So
I have the controller.
I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to put it in your words. What's the difference here? Why is Game Pass
Okay.
going to succeed where Stadia failed?
One thing and one thing only. It has games. that's it. Also, it's now when it comes out, I believe in September, xCloud is going to be free with with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now that Ultimate is the Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and xCloud. xCloud is basically just a streaming service for video games. For now, it's like I can't even launch a game if I wanted to. You like Soul Calibur, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you get Soul Calibur 6 on it currently. The newest one, I think that is, right? 6?
Yep.
Now, with xCloud, you can play games on your mobile game, I believe on your PC once it fully launches. Now, that's exactly what Stadia was. It was just you can play it anywhere. That was
It's
the proposed
cloud-based gaming, right?
Yeah, you
That's
just
the
play.
idea here.
You get a solid internet connection. You get the 5 gigahertz connection. You're good. I mean, I did Stadia. Was not that bad. It just
Did
had.
they ever come out with a wireless controller?
Yeah, I have one. Don't make fun of me, but I have
How long
one.
did it take?
No, no, it was right. It was so bad. It launched, but you could only. It was a founders edition, so I bought it. I pre-ordered it the day it was available for pre-order, and it's not a bad controller. If I'm being honest with you, it's not bad. It's solid USB-C, so it's it's got the faster connection and everything. It's probably the best thing I could say about Stadia, and it's like. And what xCloud is basically doing is it's doing what they can do, but it's giving you access to a ton of games. Because let's just say you get this Xbox Game Pass, right? You sign up. It's currently $15 a month, the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now, let's just say you sign up for it and you get it. See?
Sweet.
So you can actually get it on my smart. I have the S20 Ultra 5G. And, you get a ton of games. There's like almost like 80 games on here. If you get an Xbox Game Pass, I think there's about 200 plus games on there that are all available to download and play and own. Even if they get taken off Xbox Game Pass, as long as you continue the subscription, you can keep them forever. Then on top of that, you have PC Game Pass, which includes some games from Xbox Game Pass, but some games that never came out for Xbox, you get them for PC. That I have now, and I have roughly like 100 plus games that are available with it. Now, being that the console is coming out later on this year and it's probably going to be in short supply, the xCloud could actually give you access to all the Xbox games on your PC and not even need to use the hardware at all because it's streaming. So you'll be able to use and be able to have Xbox Live, PC Game Pass all available without even needing the Series X. So my theory is that that's really what they want. They want to be able to tout users, not console sales, because they're not going to beat the PlayStation 5. They're not. The PlayStation 5, yes, we can talk about exclusives all day, but like I told you before, it's exclusive sequels that we're going to be getting on the PS5. And honestly, Persona, that's just me. Unless Persona can go into other ones.
This is where I was gonna punch in.
Yeah.
Isn't this the success of this Game Pass? To me, it sounds like it's gonna harbor on good first party content.
Yeah, which
is the direction they seem to be taking here. Obviously.
Every game from the showcase is available on launch day with the Xbox Game Pass. What the fuck? That's a great deal. Even if you play roughly 19, 22 games, roughly 40 games are going to be available every time they come out on this, and you don't even need a fucking Series X to play these games. That's amazing. That's a great deal. $15 a month.
It's what they have to do at this point. It's
what
they have
know
to
it,
do.
Dude. I mean, if it was me,
Xbox doesn't sell internationally. It only sells domestically. Nobody overseas is buying Xboxes.
No,
they're only sold here.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, they always sell at a loss. The PS5 and the Xbox, every year they sell at a huge loss. PS5 alone, the PS5 has a custom integrated and created solid-state drive that is unavailable to purchase on its own. It is only available and created for the PS5. And it is the same, if not equal, to the highest level SSD card currently in the market for a PC. The highest rated one right now for the PC is like $400-$500 alone. The PS5
'cause
should
their
cost
model
like
now-
$2,000.
Their
It's crazy.
their model now is basically they plant themselves in your home with a console. And where
Yeah.
they're making the money is on the
Yeah.
game sales, on your online subscription,
Yeah.
on all those other transactions you're going to do within the console.
Yeah,
is where
but I
they're making the
figure
money.
what I think Xbox is doing is it knows, like, because PlayStation Now, you know, no one uses it. You know, the subscription service for PlayStation for the games, you can stream and download games exactly the same thing that Xbox Game Pass is, but on PlayStation for $10 a month that nobody uses because it's just not as good as Xbox Game Pass. I think what Xbox was like, all right, say they buy a PS5. We'll just take, instead of PlayStation Now, they're going to take the Game Pass. Let's say they have a PC or a smartphone. I think they're going to win. They're going to win because they're going to make, I think if they have 20 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers, I think I put in 20 million. It was like $200 million a month they're going to make just from that. And they have a whole math-based system where the more time you play a game, the more money the developers of that game get.
So how does that
So
work?
they get a cut too. I have no idea the math. I'm not going to be.
I was going to say, like, how does
they have a
playing
system?
Halo for longer
They have
the
a
developer
system.
gets a bigger check next week?
I mean, well, I don't know. I think it's a time-based thing. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I don't think I like to listen to podcasts with developers in it.
Mm-hmm.
And even they seem a little dodgy because I feel like they don't want to blow up the spot.
They don't want to give up the secret. It's probably some data collection. That's probably what it is.
Probably.
If I were to guess, data collection. And
I mean, if they track
data.
they can track our trophies and the gameplay time anyway. They could just give that. I mean, it's better than them taking our identities, but it's still, that's like the nicest form of data mining, I guess.
So, but when you say Microsoft is going to win, so let's be clear. I don't think Nintendo is playing this game anymore.
Nintendo's like,
they're
Team
over
Instinct.
here.
They're gone.
They're
Team Rocket.
To me, I would actually go a step further. I think Nintendo is immortal in the market because of their first party content. They've got a brand loyalty that none of the other game publishers have.
They are.
So I just can't see Nintendo going anywhere anytime soon.
I could seriously do a 2-hour video about why Nintendo is the cute, cuddly, biggest assholes of the gaming industry recently about what they've been doing with the Switch. About, like, they have their niche, they have their fan base, but they are fucking money hungry with the way they're marketing. I just have theories from what I see with the market, but I feel like, you know how you said PlayStation wants you to have the PlayStation in your home?
Yes.
Nintendo wants you to have like 15 Switches in every home. They push hardware like they want everybody.
But what's wrong with that?
I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm just saying it's not just the loyalty fan bases that they have. I mean, they have these tactics. The number one tactic is one island for Animal Crossing. That's the number one tactic. You're gonna make one island per fucking Switch.
I mean,
and
had
then
any
release
Animal
a cheap
Crossing
Switch
before
around that time.
Had any Animal Crossing before that let you have like multiple towns or multiple cities?
I think you did. I think you honestly did. I mean, I've
never played an Animal Crossing where I can have multiple like files of multiple lands. Usually,
I think you did.
If you have multiple files, you all live in the same town or village. I feel like Animal Crossing's always been this way.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. I mean, I'm sure someone is really mad typing up something on the bottom, but like, it's
fine.
Just,
people
to me,
are here
I
to
just
enjoy
feel like
themselves. People are here to enjoy.
I feel like
Nintendo
is very ruthless as well. I mean, talk about
look,
abuse.
I'm not
Nintendo Switch
they're
Online.
They're a corporation and they got to take care of their bottom dollar. All I'm saying is
they're very ruthless. They're just very quiet about it. I think like they're just as ruthless as every other.
Well,
I don't know what
saying.
it is.
I'm not denying Nintendo isn't ruthless, but I'm not saying they're any more or less than Microsoft or Sony.
Like I wouldn't be
surprised playing the
game. I wouldn't be surprised if inside one of those inflatable Pikachu dolls, that Pikachu people, like the mascots, if there isn't a guy straight up kidnapping people and forcing them to play Switch. I wouldn't be surprised. Is all I'm saying. They are very ruthless. I don't know. Man. They're cute and cuddly. I would trust them.
I'm just saying we've got one company whose consoles aren't going anywhere, and another company phasing their consoles out. I think one of them's a little bit safer. And Nintendo, here's where I'll give you this. Yeah. Nintendo not only ropes you into Nintendo Online, right? But Pokemon Online is a whole other thing.
You mean Pokemon Home?
Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I paid for that
shit. Extend that olive branch that you're paying. And I'll give Nintendo this. Their online is dirt cheap. and they don't have any reason to charge more than they do given the weak connections. But
it's like a PS2 when you used to buy the PS2 and you had to buy that stupid pack to put in the back to go online, and nobody was on there, and it just didn't work. I remember trying to play
played
Battlefront
plenty
2.
of MLB The Show online
God.
for PS2, mister.
I tried
was
Battlefront
one of 10
2.
people.
I tried Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it was always me and the bots. Every time I tried going
those
online,
bots are real people, man. You're playing with real people.
Well, I was stupid enough to think they probably were, but now that I'm a grown-ass man, I'm like, I don't think I think I played by myself.
For all you know, right? But it's going to be interesting to see because, we were talking about this a little bit before we started rolling. What does next gen have to offer outside of a solid state drive?
I genuinely feel I'm satisfied with a solid state drive. I have 3 on my computer for different files, for videos, like different media. SSDs are the shit. I love an SSD. PS5 having the clear winner in SSD is very happy for me, because as I told you, we were rolling before when I was Assassin's Creed, the loading times for Assassin's Creed on the top of the line PS4 Pro was almost like 30 to a minute half the time, 30 seconds to a minute. I throw Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my PC because I have Uplay Plus, another subscription service that I think is worth it, because I'm a huge Ubisoft apologist. And
we all have our shills, man. I'm the square shill.
Pay me. every time someone's just like, "Oh, did you get paid to say that?" I'm like, I fucking wish, because I would just be getting paid to feel the way I feel. But I pay Uplay Plus. And fuck, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so
another great subscription service.
Yeah. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. I can't. I'm so like. Oh, you aren't even paying attention. Anyway, all right. Assassin's Creed Odyssey loads like that on my PC. So already I know that the SSD I think is all this. I mean, I actually found out you can put an SSD on PS4 Pro, that you can actually mod it. And in my mind, I'm like, I wish I could just pay the $400 for the SSD of the aftermarket that's its equivalent and just play the fucking new games now. I feel like I'd almost do that, because these consoles, aside from the SSD and fucking ray tracing, I don't know. Ray tracing is like the biggest fucking thing in the world right now.
So what's ray tracing?
I don't. From what my understanding is, it has to do with the shadows in games.
Gotcha.
It can track the shadow tracking technology, and I guess instead of these are assumptions. If you're a game developer, you can correct me on Twitter at Captain Beans. But what I'm assuming is that currently some devs were just animating the shadows. So when you pass by it, they had rendered it and did it. The ray tracing, I think, just gets rid of it, because from what I've had some people explain it to me, and I just end up looking like a dumb donkey just trying to figure out what the hell they're talking about.
So if I'm understanding,
but it seems to help with the shadows.
Is it like automating the shadows so that the developers don't have to manually punch it in?
The best example I think that I saw was Control. Because I do have an RTX graphics card now, and I had Control before that I had a GTX. And when I upgraded it, I noticed that the shadows were shiny as shit and very heavily detailed. So for a game like Control, it worked. Me personally, I would love to see what that would look like in, say, Spider-Man Miles Morales. When it rains, you know how they had like the procedural generated rain in Spider-Man. I think that'd be really sweet to see. But I still don't think that that's even next gen. That's upgrading environments.
Well,
I don't know
when
what
you
next
look at
gen,
the leaps, like if we look at previous leaps, like say
you shit your pants compared to now.
Yeah, when you look at like the jump from Super Nintendo to N64, and then from N64 to like the PS3, Xbox 360 days, like you used to see these giant leaps in what we were getting.
What was it? PS1 to PS1, the fucking joysticks. When the original PS1 didn't have joysticks. I look at that controller now that I played when I had with the joysticks, and I thought to myself that I'm like, how the fuck did these gamers play anything without joysticks? It's insane. That to me alone, that is a leap. Oh, what is it? Legend of Zelda, which was a Majora's Mask or Ocarina, they introduced the axis for like the free roaming with the camera and the movement and stuff. It's insane. what they've
Dude,
done. But now I don't know what's left.
the leaps aren't there. The leaps aren't. I mean, you used to see a lot of the leaps in graphical content. Like that's
Yeah,
where you
I
used to,
don't.
but you don't really see it now. Maybe we'll see it by the end of the PS5's life cycle. We'll see some sort of leap in graphical
Yeah,
content, but it's
I
like,
genuinely. I think the biggest leap, if I'm being honest with you, is from what I was reading one time about cloud-based things like Stadia and xCloud. These, the reason why I do feel like they are the future, not specifically Stadia, but the technology behind Stadia is the future, is that because it's running on an internet, you can, like, as long as you have a solid internet connection, it can load whatever needs to be loaded instead of processing it through your computer. So there was, I forgot, fuck, I wish I had gotten this one. They said that a game like Cyberpunk would work better on a cloud-based service because of all the assets having to load through like an internet thing is faster than any process that can be done through a computer. So imagine your computer not having to download something, and every time you needed something, you just went through the internet to find it. The internet speed, I mean, internet speed is fucking fast. I don't think that a computer is able to currently mimic the speed of a good solid internet connection as far as speed goes.
mhm.
So if it could load, just that's what they were going to do with Crackdown 3. Crackdown 3 got delayed into oblivion because they were trying to integrate a cloud-based system to it in order to handle all the particles for the destructible environments. They wanted to put you in a sandbox where there's nothing you look at that cannot be destroyed, and they weren't able to do it. They couldn't figure it out. So I think that could be the next huge leap. But I think I'm going to be 40 years old by the time that goes down.
Well, here's my question: why can't the cloud? So you're talking about cloud-based services and the ability to
Yeah,
load assets out of a cloud-based service, which, as you strung out,
yeah,
is more efficient. So
yeah.
will
You want to know why?
consoles will be able to do that too, though, right? Like my
I don't
PS5
know.
is. Will my PS5 be able to download assets from a cloud-based
I
server?
mean, when you think probably at a great speed. But I mean, if you just look at like even you're on like your Wi-Fi, if you're on a 2.4 hertz connection and you have your browser, when you need to find a Google search, it gives you like 2-3 billion results for everything you Google in a snap. Imagine if they could somehow figure out a way to put that with gaming. That would be fucking insane. I think that's what the future. That's the only way. A game would be. They could make the first actual video game where a true RPG where your results are not predetermined by a flowchart. You know what I mean? Having like that's just me thinking that we're in Ready Player One. I know it's never going to happen because the ISPs charge way too much for internet access as it is. For this to work, everybody would be able to get I need a terabyte of internet, which I got the terabit, byte, whatever the fuck it is, and that's why when I had Stadia, it worked so well. But not everyone can afford that. But yeah, I do feel like yes, a console can load it, but a console can load it through the internet without even needing to run through the engine to process it, is what I'm saying. That's why Stadia was able to, if you bring out a laptop from like 6 years ago and crank Stadia on, it'll work at a good fidelity. So now imagine, your PC, I mean, even Stadia, when I played it with Stadia, when I was messing around with it on my PC, my fan never even went on once. The computer didn't need to, and I was still able to, I wasn't able to play at 4K like they promised, but I had it up to 1080, and I was playing Destiny, which is not a graphics heavy game, but it's a multiplayer, it's all online, and it ran with no issues. So that's all. I think that the cloud-based thing, that's the end all, but every gamer is going to fight it tooth and nail because we don't own the game, quote unquote, and a lot of people like to download the games and stuff. I understand that, but also I wish people would understand, like, even if you have a game on disc, you still technically don't even own it. You own the disc, but the game is a key. And if a lawyer or something happens and there's a lawsuit, it can be possible for you not to be able to play that game anymore if there's some kind of copyright issue or something. I've heard.
So
It has been said by other people.
Dude, I've got my NES
Yeah.
cartridges that still work just fine. I think
That's
my
why
CDs will
Nintendo.
be cool.
I will give that to Nintendo. The cartridges have the saves, and for the most part, the 3DSs, all the saves are on there. I'll give them that. But even the cartridge thing is not about the gamer. That's because people keep pirating Nintendo games, and that's why they keep making the weirdest cartridges because they don't want people pirating it anymore. But
Can't blame them.
no, I mean,
That protects the
As-
developer. I mean, think about it.
Yeah,
If you're a developer, you're going to
no,
slave
fine,
over a
fine.
game, and somebody's just
Yeah.
going to play it for free, and you don't see any of that.
I mean, I play Fire Emblem Sacred Stones every once in a while illegally. What are they going to do? Bust my house down?
Did you used to own a copy?
Yeah,
Then you're
I
fine.
lost it.
Then you're fine. At least
They
in my
can't
opinion,
prove it.
that's ethical.
Yeah, in your opinion. I don't know. It's Nintendo. They could have their own
That's
police
true.
force.
That's true.
Like, Nintendo's like, no, motherfucker, give me my money. They could just go crazy.
Well, I gotta say, man, Nintendo is when it comes to like people like us who like to put content on the internet, they're the most rigid. Like
They loosened up a bit.
well, because they
As
have
in-
to, bro. They have to. They need to
Because
learn.
people
this
just
is-
stopped streaming. People
Yeah.
stopped streaming their shit.
and you're giving up free advertising.
Yeah.
What are you
They don't
doing?
understand that. They'll never. They think that watching someone play it is the same sensation as I watched. There's a YouTube channel called Dead Meat that they break down horror movies and talk about all the kills and stuff. Half the movies and all horror stuff. Half the movies I've seen on that I've ended up watching and finding on different streaming services where they are because it's not the same feeling. Even especially video games.
Dude, you know what Twitch is for a lot of people? For someone like me, especially, like I don't
Yeah.
cards on the table. I don't have like Twitch streamers that I follow and tune into like it's Johnny Carson. But
No.
when a new game comes out that I'm curious about,
Yeah.
Twitch becomes my blockbuster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I rent the game by watching somebody else play it, and if it
Yeah.
looks interesting, I go and buy it because that's a window into
Mhm.
the game that we didn't used to have before.
Yeah.
And there are games that previously would not have won me over with a commercial at halftime of a football game, but they
Mhm.
do win me over when I get to watch some goon on the internet play it and have
Yeah.
fun. You know?
You want to hear what's crazy?
Yeah,
You
please.
can do that on Xbox Game Pass.
You
You can
just tune in
you
live
can
with your
download
friends,
it.
right?
No, you can just download the game, try it out for yourself, and if you don't like it, you didn't spend any extra money. You just spent the $15 a month. You're not stuck with the game forever. You can just uninstall it if you don't like it. So you can
Now
actually
let-
just try whatever you want.
So I actually want to go back to the model because I had something hit me now. Because I'm starting to think like that subscription-based model sounds good, but the thing that worries me is
Mhm.
how does this affect the bottom dollar? And that matters because, you know, if games don't make as much money as they used to, right? You're talking about a $15 subscription service, which
Yeah.
is over the course of 12 months,
It's like 120,
$180 a year.
180. Yeah. That
So
was
you're
it.
talking about three $60 games
Mhm.
every year is what you're paying for, and you get this abundance of games. So
Mhm.
I'm curious how that affects the bottom dollar of all these companies, and I guess I'm wondering how much when they say the longer you play the game, the more they get paid. Because that the devil's got to be
I
in
mean-
those details as to how
I
how this is going to work. Because then there's the
if-
idea of you're in the game. That's probably it. So
Like
they probably
Netflix and
take
stuff.
everybody who's in the Game Pass, and whatever game probably had the most playtime probably gets like allocated the most amount of the profits.
Imagine being an indie studio with no publisher, and they're like, "Yo, publish it on here." I'm telling you, the indie games are, besides like Game Pass being like next gen indie games, with the Unreal Engine 5 coming out as well. Unreal Engine 5 was announced. I don't know if you saw the video clip of it. It's just a new engine to make.
They didn't show
Yeah.
much, but
But did you know that for anybody can license that engine, which they can do now, but they don't charge you if you're a publisher. They won't charge you until you make $1 million. So
That's pretty
a
cool.
ton of indie companies can put that money, can put all their resources into making these games, put them on a service like Game Pass, and not even have to publish them. Really, you don't really need a publisher. Get them signed with them, and you're good. And it could expand, and they can make their money like that. There's a
So-
huge shift that's going to happen in the gaming industry soon.
and I think you've seen it a little bit because there's a lot of indie games that have been able to pick up traction from the Nintendo.
because they're
eShop.
cheaper. Half
And
the
that's
time they're
what I'm saying.
cheaper,
This only
and they
helps
have
them.
heart. They have a fucking heart. There's so many AAA games that come out that's just like, and I hate to
Soulless.
say, like Assassin's Creed would be one of them. I love Assassin's Creed. It's one of my top favorite IPs. But damn if I just skips cutscenes now. I just can't get it. I play the Division 2 and I play Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Don't anybody make fun of me for playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint because I know that game got tanked in reviews. It's one of the funnest games I have played in a long time. I play this. I'm fully aware of all their faults. But when I'm playing those games, every cutscene, I'm skipping them. I don't care. I just want the action. An indie game, the few that I've actually played, I can't keep my eyes off the screen. I like the
All right,
story.
plug
They
your
do
favorite
something.
indie games right now. Plug your favorite
What?
indie games out there right
All
now.
right. There's obviously Journey, which is like the biggest one that came out. It's like
Played it 3 times.
Yeah, fantastic games. There's fuck. There's this really crazy one that I've was starting to mess with called Thomas Was Alone. It's an older game. It's just weird. I can't even explain it because I've been so focused on the AAA. I'm not gonna lie. I love indie games. I do. I've been getting into them, but I haven't been going too hand
AAA
with them.
season right now, to put it
Yeah,
bluntly.
and with like, but I'm saying like with Game Pass, there's a lot. Like, there's this one game called Abzu that I played, where
I've
it's
seen
like
that.
it's a very like stripped down brawler game. You have game like Risk of Rain 2, which doesn't have much of a story, but the combat is like it's a really good combat loop where you're just going over and over, and it's really good squad combat stuff. There is fuck, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Astroneer. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, Astroneer.
Nope.
It's almost like No Man's Sky, but it's a very cartoony thing where you're just on a world and you have to like gather resources and shit. It's a very small game with no narrative, but it's got like great relaxing music, and you're just going from one planet to another collecting resources, and you get like it's it's fun. You could just die, run out of oxygen. You could also create whatever you want. I'm killed my YouTube partner many of times by creating a giant hill underneath him and then just destroying it and just killing him. just But that's what Xbox Game Pass is breathing life into a lot of indie games, because these are games that nobody would have played. If you're paying $15 a month, what's the risk as opposed to going to GameStop and staring at a cover and being like, I don't know if I want this. Or like you said, Blockbuster, testing games out, stuff like that. This is literally a kiosk from GameStop in your home, and you're only paying $15. And if you play 3 AAA titles on this, everything else is basically profit.
It's all paid for.
That's all I know, and it's just a great thing. It's and it's like the same thing with like the Epic Game Store. A lot of people shit on Epic Games because they make Fortnite, and they might have done some shit with China. But Epic Games they are the ones that are making the Unreal Engine 5. They've created it. They're giving it out to people like crazy. And I don't know, you're pretty new to the modern PC world, but they had a big thing because they were doing exclusives. So they were buying exclusive releases for things, but they were handing these companies that were making games money and then giving them a higher split of the profits. Whereas Steam, the developer that puts a game on Steam makes 25% of the revenue, I think, or 70% of the revenue. They make 70% of the revenue.
I was about to say.
I know. I'm sorry. I inversed the math. On the Epic Game Store, it's like 12% that Epic Games take. So you can make a lot more money from going to Epic and to help you finish your game. It's just this weird kind of. It's such a very odd transitional period for video games where right now, because of COVID, millions of people don't have work. Like I'm lucky enough to be an essential employee, but a lot of people right now it's hard times, and this you could literally get day one AAA, AA, and indie games right on launch. $15 a month is way better than fucking $700 and freaking I don't know, that tower box thing. For me right now, it just works out where it's like I'm gonna get a PS5. Easily gonna get a PS5.
Are you getting on launch day?
I mean, I was until I found out that Spider-Man Miles Morales is like a standalone. It's not a full-fledged sequel.
I heard it's gonna act like a DLC campaign.
But it's gonna be like, you ever played Lost Legacy, Uncharted?
No.
It's like this, like it's a very self-contained 10-hour story. That takes place in
That's
Uncharted.
the vibe I'm getting. That's
what it's like. And then I'm like, first of all, Miles Morales deserves way more than that. I understand that they're gonna put him, I think, in college in Harlem, and that's cool. But I really feel like Spider-Man 2 should have been 2 Spider-Man and them working together and stuff, and maybe introducing co-op, which would have been.
And honestly, that might be the direction they're headed. This just might be something to make the wait a little shorter.
I just feel like. And if you look on the PS5 conference, a lot of those games all said 2021 anyway.
Yeah, listen, I
might wait.
A lot of my favorite properties are pretty much exclusive on Sony consoles.
Yeah.
I have no reason to buy day one. In fact, I don't even see a reason to buy in 2021 yet, if I'm being honest.
No,
there is no shortage of games on my backlog that I need to get to that are most likely terrific, just based on people's opinions I trust. So my biggest
regret with the Switch was buying it on launch and not waiting. I bought it on launch.
I mean, I'm a huge Zelda fan, so I can't regret that in the slightest.
But that game was not worth the 8 months I had to wait until there was a game I actually wanted.
See, for me, I put like 200 plus hours into it. I found every single shrine. I got all the DLC. So for me,
my 200-hour Switch game was Fire Emblem Three Houses, which just came out.
Dude, I'm about to do my second playthrough of that.
I'm doing romances, supports. I'm at that point where actually I just restarted Pokemon Sword. I paid for the fucking Pokemon Home. So now I can just transport and I can play with my dream team. So I'm running through with the dream team right now.
I do find that really cool. I was able to bring back a lot of Pokemon from like 10 years ago.
You did the Pokemon Bank thing?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. But we're coming up on 45 minutes here. So I want to give you time to kind of give your final take on everything we talked about here.
Yeah.
Plug your channel, let people know where they can find you. It's always good talking to you. I have, nothing but love and support for you, for supporting the lodge. Can't wait to have you back on. There's going to be no shortage of things for us to talk about.
100%. I got a ton of backgrounds too, considering, it's just like, as far as gaming goes, to me, it's, if it was COVID, kind of made me kind of stare at this gaming world we're in right now, where there's not, because I guess there's not enough releases. People are just been ravenously shit. And I genuinely hate saying this word, like fucking toxic as shit. I don't like saying it because it's so loaded, but there's no other explanation. There's no other word that can genuinely, specifically gaming, because there's so much negative shit going on right now, as if there isn't enough problems in the world. As if there isn't enough. And like, there's so many people. It really like with the Last of Us 2 release. I don't care about Last of Us 1 or 2. I genuinely don't. Never got into them. Wasn't my thing. I don't like games that take themselves too seriously. I like to escape, I don't want to be bummed out by a video game. That's how I am. But I've seen like this new, it just seems like it's trending so negative lately. And with my channel, it's even been deteriorating to like my mental health. I had a little bump in kill yourselves and death threats after a couple of my other videos. And I don't even have 100 fucking subscribers. And it's just like, and I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. I'm not to be too dark. I'm a fat dude. I got bullied most of my life. I can handle it. I made it this far, but it's just like, I feel like we're not starting conversations and we're just not talking anymore. And everyone's just trying to be right and shit. And it's just, so for me to plug my channel currently, it's All Nerds Welcome. I'm looking into, we were talking before, I was looking into changing it up a bit. I don't put up, I mean, I hate to say, like, I put up like 3 videos this year so far. I'm working on a few. Now that you literally see this green screen, I literally got this to work the way I wanted it to work, like last week. And I almost flipped my computer desk because I was so ecstatic that I finally got this shit to work. So if you want to subscribe over there, check me out. I like to talk about things that are a little more, let's just say, loaded, like things like diversity, stuff like that, and some storylines I'd like to go into. I just, I want the gaming world to just, get its head out of its ass and let's just all enjoy video games again instead of just try to shit on everything, But as far as next gen goes, I'm happy about it. I'm okay with it. I think this isn't technically next gen, I don't think. But as long as you get rid of some loading screens, I'm kind of okay with it. That's my only take about next gen. I told you, I sure as shit don't want to play a video game where I'm looking at the screen and it looks like I'm looking at, like, in real life. That would freak me the fuck out. That would be like Truman Show. It would be like the Truman Show as a video game. Don't want that. So, graphics and stuff, I think we've reached it. Number 1 reviewed game this year could possibly be Persona 5 Royal. Could not look any real. Could not look any more fake and cartoony. It still was a great game. Exactly. I have my own stuff laying around too. But it's just like, let's all calm down. Let's all enjoy video games. Let's stop telling each other to kill each other. And next gen isn't really next gen. That's it's not, like, I hate to say it, but
no. And listen, we laid it out. We laid out. There's not the jumps that we're used to seeing between generations. This is perhaps the smallest jump we've ever seen.
And there's a possibility that a jump could be $10 more but only for 2K so far, basketball.
Yeah. We'll
Ubisoft
see.
said no. Ubisoft said $60 for each, but they're currently apologizing for a lot of stuff. So we don't know if it's for everybody. We don't
For
know if
now,
it's
I hate to
everybody.
break it to everybody, it's going up to $70. But with that said, I'm 100% with you. I just think the people, to use the loaded term, the toxic people are just the loudest. I think the majority of people are having a blast with the video games that have come out, especially in the last few months. We've gotten absolute bangers. And I think what your channel is getting at, and I know my channel is getting at, is it's time to become hubs of positivity. These games are here for our fun and enjoyment and to love and to explore lore and to do all the things that we love to do. I'm with you. Let's start pushing love for gaming, love for each other, and love for the experiences. But Alex, it's a absolute pleasure to have you on.
Of course.
Going to have you on again soon. Obviously, there's no shortage of things to talk about. Check out his
like
channel,
I said,
everybody. All
green
nerds
screen.
welcome. Check
Green
out the
screen's
green
always
screen.
open. It's always open, man.
At Cap and Beans. You can follow him on Instagram, Twitter.
I got Phil Spencer.
He's hosting E3 now. He's hosting E3.
Yeah.
All right,
breathtaking.
everybody. Thank you for tuning in.